Hey, what's going on? You know who it is. You know what it is. All right, you guys, peep game. Let me ask you guys what you think of this. Because this is something very interesting that we should talk about. This is the type of discussions I like to have with my subscribers, my audience, people that may occasionally come on my channel. I want to know what everybody thinks about this. Hey, let's be respectful in the comment sections. Just, voice your opinion. No need to go either left or right. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about politics. I'm just talking about your opinion. But Cat Williams made some very interesting comments in regards to Eddie Murphy. Basically, he recently said, he was just talking about, his body of work and comedy and how long he's, been at it. And there were people that took exception to it. And then there were some people that was like, okay, well, Cat got a point. Cat Williams said that basically Eddie Murphy, how could he be your favorite comedian when he hasn't done stand-up comedy in over 30 years? Well, actually, is probably going on 35 years. I mean, Raw was made, in 87? So that's like 35 years. Eddie Murphy has been long removed from stand-up comedy. Now, there's been talks of Eddie Murphy returning to the stage, but Eddie Murphy did say, well, you know what? Where I'm at now as a comedian and an actor, what could I possibly get on stage and talk about? So Cat Williams was just saying to himself, like, hey, man, I'm constantly working. I'm always on stage. I'm doing shows and all that kind of stuff. So, it's just the fact that he can't be your favorite comedian when he hasn't done nothing in a while. My response to that, I understand where he's coming from. But at the same time, Eddie Murphy just made his mark. Yes, that's true. It's sort of, what this kind of reminds me of a little bit? This sort of reminds me of the whole thing about Biggie Smalls possibly being the greatest rapper that ever lived. And the argument is, this is where it gets fuzzy. What Biggie Smalls was able to do with 2 studio albums was amazing. He put out Ready to Die, which is a classic. That I'm talking about, Ready to Die is a classic. Real talk. Love that album. It's a classic. And then he put out Life After Death. Unfortunately, it was put out after his death. And then you had this argument where some people say that Biggie is possibly the greatest rapper that ever lived. And I always say, I'm sorry, unfortunately, due to his body of work, you just can't say Biggie Smalls is the greatest rapper of all time because he just didn't put out enough material. He only made 2 albums. And that's the problem. Now, who knows what would have happened if Biggie would have got to a 3rd, 4th, 5th album. The thing is with Tupac, the reason why some people say Tupac is in that GOAT discussion, or at least in the top 10, top 5, is because Tupac put out so much material. Tupac put out 3 or 4 additional albums after his passing. So that's why you have that argument. That's why you kind of can put Tupac in there versus, Biggie Small. And that's what this Eddie Murphy thing reminds me of. But Eddie Murphy left such a, you know what I'm saying? He just left such a mark on his resume and what he did the whole time he was on stage. This man went from TV to film. He became one of the biggest. He was like the #1 box office draw in the late 80s going into the 90s. One of the biggest. So I understand where Cat Williams is coming from. And I don't think he was trying to diss Eddie Murphy, but there were a lot of people that took exception to it and said, hey, man, don't you dare disrespect Eddie Murphy like that. Because to be honest with you, where Eddie Murphy picked up where Richard Pryor left off, then you had people like, he kind of opened up the doors for guys like Martin Lawrence and and Chris Rock and all those kind of dudes. As far as black comedians go, Dave Chappelle. So it's an interesting argument and it's an interesting conversation. But for real, let's talk about it. Everybody chime in. So I want to know, is Cat Williams out of pocket, or is it something to what Cat Williams say? Is he right? Is he sort of right? Or you half agree, half don't? I want to know what everybody thinks about this. This is just real talk. My personal opinion, he's kind of right and wrong. Yes, Eddie Murphy hasn't put out stand-up comedy in like 35 years, but like I said, what he did, he left a mark that not only inspired just, primarily black comedians, but he inspired a lot of, non-black comedians. So let me know what you guys think. This your boy Town Biz. I'm out.